Today, as you know by the title, we're going to be making some bronze coins. Let's see. I'm going to show you how to alloy bronze and how to make a mold so you can pour your bronze. So first thing, there's a lot of ways to make molds. I'm going to sand cast. I'd like to use a broken butter knife to kind of split up my chunks. I've already mostly done this because this kind of is boring. All you do is you just cram it into your mold and then you just hammer it down. I just use a piece of scrap wood that has a nice and flat bottom. It kind of sticks to it. And then once that's done, the reason I chose this was because it's wide enough that I can scrape the sand off the top to make it perfectly flush. With the mold. That way we can put it together. But first we got some gaps here and there, so I'm going to add some more sand to fix that. And now what we do is we are going to take our baby powder, which you're supposed to not inhale this stuff because apparently I've heard that it can give you cancer because of whatever the pharmaceutical companies put into it. But you just sprinkle some on there and then you spread it out so your piece doesn't stick into the sand. You want it just to impress into the sand. I'm going to use this 3D printed coin my friend gave me. I don't know if it's plagiarism, but I think this is a rip off of an ancient Greek coin. So I think that's pretty cool. And then what we do is I'm gonna make a bronze chicken because I think that's pretty funny. And so then what you do is you press your piece into the sand, and it's already starting to make an impression. You can see there. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna press that till about half of it is in the sand. So this bit is very important because this is your actual mold, the sand. And now I'm going to add the coin because you can do multiple things at once. I generally try to do multiple things in one mold because if the mold is successful, I wind up with two objects instead of just one. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to add the top part of our mold. This is the important piece because this is going to complete our mold. Then what we do is we take some sand. We want to keep it light, that way it takes as many details from our rooster and our coin as possible. And we just dump it in. And so when you got the chunks, I just take an old butter knife that's broken and I just cut it up. You can just use a butter knife you use for eating, but remember to wash it off really well and to not tell your mom or wife, whichever one. Of course, if you're a bachelor, this isn't a problem and you can do whatever you want. So we add more sand, and then this might shake the camera a little bit, so I'm sorry about that, but then you just thump it all down on. See that really shrunk the volume real quick. So then we take some more sand, just dump it on, and then we repeat until this is level with the top of the mold. And I'll just cut to that point. Alright, now we have our mold flush on the top. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully separate this. And now we have our mold. But there's still more to do because the molten metal isn't just going to appear in the bottom part, in the coin, you know. So I'm going to finish adding this here, just real quick. It's not that hard. I think anyone should be able to do this. It's basically like Play-Doh, essentially. I'll have to make a video on how to make good molds, but for now I'll just include this whole portion. I'll probably edit it down quite a bit, so. And then what you're going to want to do, can't show my face, so it's a little bit tough. But now, essentially, you just cut a hole to the chicken's head, or whatever piece you're making. Alright, and so, after you've cut the channel, you're going to want to cut a second channel to whatever piece you're working on. Now, if I would recommend just doing a single piece at first, simply because this is a little bit tricky. I think it would be harder for a beginner, and I don't think I could have done it when I started. So don't feel bad about learning, you know. So then I'm just gonna pull out the chicken because we're not melting the chicken. We're melting the absence of a chicken. All right, so this is a little bit messy. So I could have made this mold better, but I've only got a limited amount of space on my camera, so what I'll just do is I'll just have to do more cleanup in the end. Which is unfortunate, but it happens sometimes. You can keep, when you make yours, you can just make it perfect and take more time, but I, have a limited amount of time on my GoPro, so we're gonna do this quick and dirty. And we should turn out with a pretty good piece. You want to make certain no pieces of sand get stuck. So how does that match up? Not at all. Just gonna widen out this channel a little bit more so I have a guarantee that it'll all go in where it needs to be. And then, yeah, I think we're done. We've got it's not quite lined up there, but now I'm going to show you how to alloy bronze. The way you alloy copper and tin to make bronze is pretty simple. Bronze is 12% tin and 88% copper. So the way I like to do it is when I want 5 ounces of bronze, I get 4.4 ounces of copper, and then I add 0.6 ounces of tin. And then when I melt this down, it's going to become bronze. I have a lot of excess bronze from previous melts because I like to have quite a bit of it. Most people don't have tin lying around, so if you go to a thrift store, you can usually find some tin. I'll have to make another video on how to identify tin at a thrift store, but for now, suffice it to say, you can find tin quite easily. Alright, and then I think that's, now that we poured it, let's see, gotta put this back in the crucible so it doesn't explode. I've heard that can happen. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't want to risk it. Crucibles are a little bit expensive. Not that expensive, but they cost enough that, you know, makes you consider before, like, being super risky with them. There we go. Here we have our chicken. I'm gonna go clean it up. Okay, so the chicken came out fine. The coin, it's not perfect, but I've made perfect ones before. It doesn't really matter because they look cool no matter what. Because ancient coins, it didn't matter if the strike was perfectly on. Obviously, they would have used like a full blank, but since these are just cast, I don't really mind. I'm actually just trying to fill up this thing with the coins. Probably can't see that too well. But now we're going to clean up the chicken. It's technically a rooster, but I'm just going to break that off. See, because it's really thin right where it attaches, which is part of the reason the coin didn't come out too well, was because it kind of got cut in a bottleneck and this cooled. So that'll happen to you sometimes. And then I'll just clip that off. Ugh. And then I'll just file that down real quick. And then we've got ourselves a nice bronze rooster. I'm gonna continue cleaning this up, and I'll get back to you when that's finished. Okay, so I made a mistake when I was cleaning up my chicken, and I accidentally snapped off his legs. So off camera, I just made